Hello, and welcome to this workshop on rethinking group projects through scaffolded multimodal design. Most of us assign group projects to build collaboration, but how often do they actually feel cohesive? In this mini workshop, we're going to look at the challenge of group projects and the core idea behind changing how we approach group projects. We're going to explore the 5-week framework that I use in my college classes and why this approach works for group projects. And then we're going to look at ways we can adapt and apply the concept. And finally, some concluding thoughts. Take about 10 seconds and think of about a group project that didn't go well, either as a student or as an instructor. What specifically went wrong? Did you say perhaps unequal participation, last minute panic, one high stakes grade, limited feedback, student resentment toward group work? What complaints do students most often have about group projects? Is it perhaps one of these that it makes them anxious and stressed, that they get frustrated because of the unequal effort? For most people, it's not the idea of group work, it's how it's structured. Let's look first at what the core idea entails. Multimodal assessment includes assessing across multiple formats such as planning, visual, oral, and written. And scaffolding includes breaking a large assessment into staged developmental components. This reduces the chaos that surrounds group projects by incorporating smaller checkpoints, establishing clear expectations, and it includes built-in accountability. How are your current group projects typically structured? If your response was one final product only, you are not alone. In a traditional model, everything builds towards one final submission. If something goes wrong, for example, poor planning or uneven contribution, there's no opportunity to fix it. What this model does differently is redistribute that risk across multiple stages. Weeks 1 and 2 are designed to develop group cohesion and structure. In the first week, the students are introducing themselves to each other and picking their topic. Each member of the group must commit to a part of the project and a delivery date. Carrying on into week 2 is more planning and the actual role distribution, as well as the first deliverable, the critical path. In the critical path, they are outlining their topic, their potential sources, their agenda, including who is doing what and when, and who the group leader is. By the end of week 3, their research should be done, and they will create the slides they will use in either their live or video presentation. In weeks 4, they either deliver their presentation or submit the video. For the live presentations, I have alumni attend and provide feedback to the students on their presentations. I also allocate 30% of the presentation grade to peer feedback. In week 5, the last deliverable is due. It's a short written report, 7 to 10 pages. At each stage, there is enough time before the next deliverables due date for me to provide feedback so that they can make changes. Rubrics are also developed for each deliverable so that students know exactly what they will be graded on. Imagine a group where one student is strong in research, another in design, and yet another in presenting. In the traditional project, these strengths might not emerge clearly, but in this model, one student might lead the research while another develops the slides, and yet another can take on the presentation. Each stage makes their contribution visible. For example, in my own course, I've seen groups that would normally struggle early on become much more organized after the planning stage. By the time they reach the presentation, they're not scrambling, they're refining. Instead of students dividing the work at the last minute, this structure forces early collaboration and makes contributions visible. Breaking a large project into smaller stages helps reduce cognitive overload. Instead of managing everything at once, students can focus on one task at a time. This process also supports iterative learning. Students aren't just producing a final product, they're improving their work over time through feedback and revision. Because students engage through multiple formats, visual, oral, and written, it allows different strengths to emerge and supports diverse learners. This approach mirrors real work. Students plan, research, collaborate, present, and write. Rather than just submitting one paper, it builds multiple, authentic skills. Smaller checkpoints and peer feedback make contributions more visible, which helps reduce issues like free riding. It increases accountability and transparency. This format works because it reduces overload, builds in feedback, supports different strengths, and makes learning more visible and process-based. All things we know from learning theory improves outcomes. What's important here is that none of these ideas are new on their own. Feedback, scaffolding, skill development, but combining them into a single structured project is what makes the difference. The multimodal, scaffolded design isn't limited to higher education. It can be adapted across grade levels and subject areas by adjusting complexity and outputs. For example, at the elementary level, think of a community helpers project, focusing on firefighters and police officers, paramedics. In stage 1, the planning is teacher guided, and students choose their roles, whether they're going to do research or be an artist or a presenter. In stage 2, the students create a poster or a simple slide about a community helper. This is a visual creation. In stage 3, they do the presentation, which is a short show and tell style presentation. Stage 4 is a reflection where they draw or write, "What did I learn?" The key adaptations include more structure, shorter timelines, and more teacher support. At the elementary level, the focus is on participation, basic collaboration, and expression, rather than complex analysis. If we move to look at the secondary level, we increase independence and depth. For example, you could pose a social issue project. In stage 1, the students would determine their topics, their roles, and their research plan. This would be their project proposal. In stage 2, they would use evidence-based arguments from their research to create a slide draft. In stage 3, they would do their presentation, which could be a debate, a presentation, or a video, as well as include peer feedback. In stage 4, the final product could be an essay, a report, or a position paper. At the secondary level, there's more independence, there's deeper analysis, a stronger emphasis on evidence. Students take more ownership and engage in deeper critical thinking and argumentation. Let's look at how this model can be adapted across subject areas. A history project might be a historical event investigation. So at the planning stage, the students would select their event and develop their research questions. At the second stage, their slides could include the causes of the event, the key figures in the event, and the impacts of the event. Stage 3, their presentation, could be an argument or a perspective such as a debate. And then finally, their last deliverable would be a research paper or position piece. This format works well for developing historical thinking, including cause, perspective, and providing evidence-based arguments. This model can also be used for a scientific inquiry project. Stage 1, the planning, would include their research question and their hypothesis. In stage 2, their slides would outline their background research and their method. Their presentation would include their findings or experiment results. And then the final stage would be a lab report or a research summary. This mirrors the scientific process, including hypothesis, testing, communication, and reporting. In all these projects, the structure stays the same, but the content, complexity, and the level of independence shift depending on the learners and the discipline. Take a moment to think about a group project you currently use. How could you break it into stages? Planning, research, presentation, and one final output. Even mentally mapping this out is the first step towards redesigning assessment. Group projects aren't inherently problematic, but the way we design them often is. By shifting from a single high-stakes product to a structured, multi-stage process, we can reduce stress, improve accountability, and create more meaningful learning experiences. It's not just about changing the assignment, it's about redesigning the learning experience. Thank you for sharing your time today. Please do not hesitate to ask me questions.